Hello, week 5, English 338. You all are doing great. We are keeping our eye on the ball. We are moving forward, and I hope that you've settled into a rhythm. A couple of things that I wanted to remind you of really quickly, sharing my screen once again. Let's take a look at what seems to be going on. This is week 5. You will notice that there are no scholarly readings this week. That is to say, I want to make sure you understand where we are in the course. We are working with Schiappa once again. Now, what we're doing, instead of just familiarizing ourselves with Schiappa's methods of looking for definitions and thinking about the downstream effects of those definitional choices in terms of rhetoric, we're going to apply them to 2 articles. First things first, Building Bridges by Rachel Ramirez on Grist, and here's the link to the article right here. And then the other one, the Washington Post. Now you'll notice the Washington Post may want you to subscribe. Please don't do that if you don't have to. I mean, if you're interested in the Post, that's great, but so do it, but don't do it if you don't have to. What I've done is I've put a Word doc version of the article right here if you'd rather just read that. Now you're going to miss out on some of the cool graphics that you get. Now, both of these articles are about climate change once again, but we've already covered climate change in some ways. What the interesting kind of addition to these articles right here is that they both talk about infrastructure and responses to climate change. So how we build our cities, how we make sure cities are sustainable, how we build policy around sustainable choices, how we try to mitigate climate change in decisions about neighborhoods, about streets, and so on. So one of the things that I'm going to ask you to do then in your week 5 post is you're going to pick up Schiappa's claims about definitions as you start to work with the definitions that you find in this article. So first, where do you see explicit or implicit definitions at work in these articles? Let's remember, a definition is not just a description. You know, to call me tall and bearded and you know, other things is not necessarily a definition of me or what it means to be human. Plato called us featherless bipeds. That makes no sense, but it's a definition. How we define a planet like Pluto, which is no longer a planet. How we define helium, as we got out of Schiappa's article. Those are definitions. We look for characteristics that make up, that encompass the thing, not just describe it. So first off, explicit or implicit definitions could be at work in this in these articles. Secondly, where do you see similar or different definitions of the same term? You notice they're talking about similar kinds of things. So what do you see in terms of definitions of the same term? And then finally, select one of the 2 news articles, the one where you think Schiappa's argument is really playing out, and then think about it. If we think of Schiappa as offering a strategy or lens, in which news article do we get the most insight? Is one news article a better fit than the other? Then what does Schiappa help you notice about this news article's argument, or about how it frames its point? Remember, we've talked about framing. So remember that most of these posts are exploratory in one way or another. Our goal is not to have answers, but to explore issues, to discover new ways of looking at language, to think about ways we might apply that language ourselves. If we go back to this tentative schedule page, you will notice as well, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be actually building a paper out of what we've done so far. Now, remember, we've talked about Ross Kelly and her Aristotelian notion of how rhetoric works: logos, ethos, pathos, context, purpose, audience, genre, and so on. We talked about framing and Scott's notion of how framing works in political arguments, using things like stereotyping, typecasting, semantic categories, and so on. Now we get Schiappa. So I want you to start thinking very carefully about what kind of test object, or what we might call artifact, that you might pick for this particular paper. You'll notice if you're having trouble with this, I have built a video right here. This is me in the Brady Bunch set, right? Not really. This is just the background photo. But so what we're then doing this week is we are getting ready to write. All of the posts that you've done in Google Currents could give you ideas about ways to start working with rhetoric and applying tools of rhetoric to your own artifact. By that, I mean your own argument, your own text, your own speech, your own social movement action, some place where you see rhetoric at work, and then writing about it in this paper. So this is what we're doing the next couple of weeks. You are working with Schiappa by applying it to these two articles. Then next week, you will actually post a rough draft of your paper into Google Currents. The week after that, you will peer review, and then right before spring break, we'll turn in your rhetorical analysis essay. So in the big scheme of things then, there are two big projects in this class. The first half of the semester, we've got this rhetorical analysis essay where what you do is you analyze discourse that exists for the ways in which it's trying to convince us to think differently about an environmental issue. The second half of the semester, that is after spring break, we're going to begin to use rhetorical tools ourselves to construct our own rhetorical texts. That is, making our own persuasive arguments about the environment. And I'll guide you through some different kinds of ways of thinking about the digital stories that we could create in this course. Those are the two big course projects, right? We're going to end the semester by focusing in on what we feel we've learned in the course and what possibilities for future action we see from having taken this course and thought about rhetoric. But that's it. Really, the other grades that you get, the Perusall grades and the Google Currents grades, are gimme grades. As long as you do the stuff in Perusall by Monday and Google Currents by Thursday, you're just going to get a huge amount of points. And if I've missed something, let me know, send me an email or something like that, but I'm trying to keep as current as I can with the grades. So what does this mean? We are cruising into spring break. You all need a break. I need a break. We all need a break. Life is hard right now. We need to worry less about the world and more about ourselves, and tuck into self-care and other kinds of things, to be with the people we love, right? So we are moving toward a goal of turning in a paper by spring break. And the work that you do here with Schiappa should be the final kind of theoretical lens that you try on in order to figure out how you might do this work on your own. Again, I will share just very quickly. If you have questions about ways to get started with this assignment, I would watch this video, Getting Started with Rhetorical Analysis. I would watch some of the other videos that I have made and that I've posted to the main page of our website. So take care, be good to yourself, email me if you have any questions or concerns, and I will see you in Google Currents. Remember, this week is read those two short articles, and then by Thursday, do a Schiappa on them. Thanks.